Hi, folks. This is Dalton Mortimer, the Authenticator, coming to you solo for once. I am, of course, today Anglin-teenless, and I know what you must be thinking. This is a movie about cannibalistic foodies, so did you do the obvious thing and get your Dr. Lecter on, Dalton? No, I didn't. What happened was Anglin-teen hasn't seen the movie yet, and we were gonna do a review today. And I was ready and raring to go because I had a lot to say about this movie, which is sometimes a good sign. This time, however, it was not. Because this movie sold me on a trailer, and I think it sold a lot of people on a trailer, and I don't think I'm alone in that. And then it proceeded to go on for 2 hours and change about how much it hates everyone who could have conceivably been sold by that trailer. I will go on to explain what I mean by that. And Anglin will presumably have his own review out whenever Anglin sees the movie. But when I saw the trailer for the menu, I thought, great, this looks like Most Dangerous Game mixed with a little bit of The Purge, mixed with a little bit of The Hunt, or so on and so forth. Maybe even a little bit of Ready or Not mixed with like Hannibal Lecter style food porn of the either second movie variety or the show variety. And I am the easiest sell in the world for that because I'm a foodie who likes genre stuff and I like horror. And Hannibal Lecter is one of my favorite characters. So I'm like, cool, doing kind of a The Purge meets culinary arts thing. I can vibe with that. And then I tried to do a review earlier and I had to delete it because I realized that not having an audience to bounce off of was making me not able to keep myself from rambling, and so live stream instead. Um, but the long and the short of it is, if you like me basically looked at that and said, looks like Most Dangerous Game mixed with various other things meets culinary arts stroke like Hannibal aesthetic. This movie hates you and wants you to feel bad for essentially wanting a sincere version of the thing it advertised in the trailer. Because instead of presenting the like B horror comedy thing it was supposed to be, the Purge or um Purge or Most Dangerous Game meets culinary arts, this movie wants to join Get Out and Shape of Water in the form of, yeah, we could do that very obvious and straightforward and easy home run idea there, or we could saddle it with a bunch of stupid commentary that is as pretentious as it is on the nose, and then make our entire audience hate us and resent us and want their money back. And of course, in modern day Hollywood, they did that rather than just give something like Ready or Not or The Hunt or something. Like, there are other movies in this subgenre that you could be imitating here, and that's kind of how you sold the movie, but instead, nerds. Um, because it takes every thing you would look forward to in a movie like that. You see the trailer and you think, okay, this chef guy is very obviously kind of like the chef equivalent of Dr. Hannibal Lecter and wants to produce the best, most high quality cuisine using, human remains and everything. Nope. He is actually a tortured soul with a tragic backstory, and all he really wants to do is be a short order cook. Spoilers from this point on, by the way. You'd think that like the intrigue of the actual people reacting to this would be interesting, or that they would have character arcs in their own right. Nope, they're straw men. They're literally just there to be annoying characters to be written off and or murdered. You'd think that like Anya Taylor Joy's character would be a background character for the lead to bounce off of. Nope, she's the actual lead. Although to be fair, it's Anya Taylor Joy, so that might have been something you were expecting. And of course, you'd imagine that this would be kind of a class type movie a la The Purge, where this is just the rich getting up to bizarre shit because the rich do that. no, the reason why his kitchen staff are helping him never really gets established. Um, Other than he has this emotionally scarring backstory, and I guess they're trying to satirize how loyal kitchen staffs are to their chefs, maybe kind of, but they don't do anything with it apart from my kitchen staff is inextricably loyal to me and it's never fully addressed why. Like you'd imagine in this type of movie, there'd be some sort of cult thing going on, or maybe there's a philosophical reason behind it, or maybe like he blackmailed all of his kitchen staff into it, or maybe like there are so many ways they could have gone with the let's explain the whole why is his kitchen staff being so ridiculously loyal thing, but instead, nope. None of the above is explained, and all of the elements of satire are like that. Like there are a few lenses you could choose to see this movie through. You could see it as what I and I assume most of the audience wanted, which was Most Dangerous Game or The Purge meets culinary art stroke Hannibal Lecter, and they don't effectively do that. And there's nothing in here that you wouldn't see on something like Hannibal or even a movie like The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, or Lover, but done better. And then you could see it as like a Get Out or Shape of Water style movie where the point is some kind of heavy-handed commentary. But even the heavy-handed commentary is so surface level that it makes you go, "Why? What, like you're trying to get me to turn my commentary brain on and you're not succeeding because the commentary is either so obvious that it makes me want to hit you or so out of left field that it makes no sense within the context of the goddamn plot. Or you could see it as like a tragic tale of a idealistic young chef who gets thrown into the big world of pleasing upscale clientele and gets twisted into um a horrible weapon of the upper classes. Nope, they don't do that either. Like the people who he's cooking are his benefactors and his clientele, and none of them are in on that joke. None of them like it's not like he's being paid by some extremely jaded rich person to cook them so that so that they can get one last thrill before they die. That would actually have been reasonably clever and fit this kind of movie. But instead, his vendetta, and again, we've already sort of started delving into spoilers, so if you had any pretensions of not spoilers, I'm sorry. But the long and the short of it is Ray Fiennes' chef character used to be a working class kid who got hired as a short order cook and excelled so well at being a short order cook that he got sort of whisked up the ladder into high society chefdom. And he hates and resents every moment of being a high society chef. Now, mind you, a couple of questions are raised by this point in the conversation where I go, okay, if you only wanted to be a short order cook and you didn't want to get involved in high society chef culture, you could just not. And even if you at one point had to make ends meet and whatever, like you're an established enough presence by the beginning part of this movie that you could literally sell the island that your benefactor's paying for, shortchange them a little bit, which would be a better and more sane way of sticking it to them, and then open up your ideal short order cook style restaurant. And let's also be real, in modern day society, hipsters would eat a like diner style restaurant up as long as it was upscale enough. And given that this guy went from short order cook to Michelin star cook in maybe 5 years, this should or 10 years, that would be a very easy niche to fill. Um, and then it gets into the we're trying to make this character sympathetic by way of this commentary thing where yeah, like as Ed said in the comments, food truck. Yeah, there are so many ways you could just do a food truck. You could do a diner. You could do so many other things. but yeah, the entire like character motivation for this murderous chef is not a Hannibal Lecter style thing of like I'm a craftsman of food and I just want to see how far I can push it and then, lead into most dangerous game territory. That was kind of what I was expecting and I think what most people were expecting. But instead his whole thing is I'm bitter about having to perform for these upscale clientele and I'm going to go out of my way to cook and eat them and feed them to each other as revenge. And none of my kitchen staff are going to have any explained problem with this because reasons. And again, you would think that could be part of the commentary too, of like maybe the kitchen staff are just sheeple and they will do whatever they're told. But we actually see several of them like break down crying um, throughout the course of the movie for having to do the things they're doing, and it's never like brought up. There's never a twist where one of the kitchen staff help the people trying to escape, and most of the time the people trying to escape aren't even trying to escape, which is the other. And that part kind of is explained in the context of the satire. Like maybe they are just that pretentious that they genuinely want to see how far this gimmick can go, but at other times they do half-heartedly try to escape and they just get stopped by minor inconveniences, and then they're like, "Well, I was stopped by a minor inconvenience. I suppose it's not worth living after all." Back to the dining room. Back to literally eating my table mates. This is what I'm saying about this movie. Like this movie actively hates anyone who could feasibly find it enjoyable on any of the levels that I've outlined um, already, and the resolution of the movie is so weirdly Hallmarkish that it it also creates a dissonance between, even if you were vibing on the movie, the ending is just going to come out of nowhere and go, wait, this was a really dark, very dry horror comedy 5 minutes ago, being very satirical, albeit in a very simple way, and now the chef in question gets a Hallmark style resolution to his subplot even as he's cooking himself, because his plan is basically I'm going to cook my enemies that I've accrued over the years, and then I'm going to cook myself and my kitchen staff as well. And like even as he's dying, he has this stupid grin on his face of like, well, my character arc has been resolved. Doesn't that mean you could, not be cooking yourself into a giant dessert? Because, spoiler alert, as you can imagine with all the courses, the last meal of the night is dessert, and everyone who's left at the end of the movie, aside from Anya Taylor Joy's character, and we will get into that, gets baked into a giant dessert. Um, It should be streaming, Ed. I put it on live stream specifically because I tried doing this as a private video and then realized I was rambling too much because I didn't have an audience to bounce off of. But we're not getting. Then again, this is just on the movie channel. It's not on I Love Comics, so we probably won't get a huge audience. I just needed someone to break up the flow for when I get too rambly. But like I say, I have a lot of issues with this movie, and that's why I'm rambling. Um, so anyway, Anya Taylor Joy's character, I have to explain this so you know I'm not lying. She is a prostitute who is hired by this guy who gets invited to this private island restaurant because the guy who she comes with has some inclining of what the chef is planning on doing, and so he deliberately breaks it off with his girlfriend and hires a prostitute so that she can be eaten in his girlfriend's place. But because Ray finds his character has no reason to want to harm her, and also because he sees her, he realizes she's a prostitute. He basically goes, "Oh, you're a sex worker. That means you're working class just like me. We should bond over that." And so for like a third of the movie, they're bonding over being the only two working class people forced into like an upper crust society. And then when she Um, she needs to go off the grounds of the actual restaurant into his private quarters to get something for him, and she's the only person he trusts to get it for him. But while she's rooting through his things, looking for the thing she's supposed to be finding, she sees a like photo album of him uh, in his old short order cook uh, in his old short order cook job making a burger, and it's the only picture that she sees of him with a smile on his face. So she hatches a crafty scheme to get out of this because, again, it's basically the same character as Anya Taylor Joy played in Split. It's a very weird sort of coincidence, and I'm not even sure it was intentional or if it was just my brain having seen too many movies and noticing connections where there aren't any. But she gets back to the she gets back to the dining room. He serves up his next course, and she sends it back and she says, I haven't really liked any of what you've served up to me so far tonight. I would rather something a little bit simpler." And he of course likes her at this point, so he obliges her, and he asks, "Okay, what do you want?" And she says, "A burger." And then he smiles because it makes him think of his old short order cook days. And long story short, because of that one final like bit of camaraderie among the air quotes working class, and also reminding him of his happy past, she's the only person who makes it out alive of this entire thing because of reasons so contrived that I swear to God I had to double check in my head just now to make sure I was explaining it right. And now you can see why I didn't particularly care for this movie. Because instead of having Ray Fiennes' character be a sadistic gourmand a la Hannibal Lecter who just wants to see how far he can push the culinary arts, he's a he's a emotionally scarred backstory having working class boy who ultimately just wanted to be making his short order cook stuff for the rest of his life, and had every opportunity to do so and didn't for some reason. Um, and therein lies the problem because I can't watch any single scene of this movie without going. I realize you're trying to be over the top and satirical, but even outside of it being over the top and satirical, there are logic problems here. Like, why didn't he just use the fame and fortune that he got from being a chef to do what he actually wanted to do instead of going on a murderous rampage? No, the movie is not streaming, Ed. The movie is currently in theaters. It's in, I think, semi limited release though right now. It's called The Menu. Um, it stars Ray Fiennes, who most people would know as either Francis Dollarhide in Red Dragon or Voldemort if you're under the age of about I would say 25. It's I think being distributed by Searchlight. I know it's one of those independent studios. But yeah, this is one of those movies that makes me mad because it had so much potential going in and was selling itself as a completely different movie. And once it has you in the theater, having sold itself as a completely different movie, it basically sits there and dumps on your intelligence for its entire runtime. So much so that there's even a character whose whole purpose is to be a foodie who doesn't know anything about food so that they can make the point that people who claim to be intelligent about food don't know anything about food. Um, that being said, now that I've ranted about how awful this movie is for like 20 minutes, um, it's not irredeemable. It's just one of those movies that you can see how a better movie could have easily been made with this plot, and a much more straightforward movie could have been made with this plot. Um, but somebody is still putting effort in. Like the visuals of the food are all still very, food porn-esque. It's all very high society fare, and it mixes nicely with the like horror elements. It's just that none of the character motivations make any sense. None of the resolutions make any sense, and there are massive glaring character flaws that could have easily been explained um by a slightly different way of going about it. Um Honestly, by Anglintine's metric, I'm gonna give the for those that don't know, Anglintine's metric, which I'm still using here because it is technically one of his channels that we're streaming on, is 1 and 2 are awful, 3 and 4 are bad, 5 and 6 are average, 7 and 8 are good, and 9 and 10 are great to awesome. I would say I'm gonna give this movie a 6. The reason why I'm so angry at this movie, even though it's a 6, is because, like I say, I think most people who saw the trailer had one movie in their minds when they were going in, um something akin to Most Dangerous Game or The Purge, but done through the lens of like Hannibal Lecter style culinaryism. And if the movie had been that, I'd be singing its praises because I'm an easy sell for a movie like that. But instead, it nerfed itself through smarter than it, it smarter than I think I am commentary, which ultimately ruined the movie. Um, it's not even as smart as Get Out. Because here's the thing, it's not as good at food porn as The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, or Lover. It's not good. It's not as good at dark humor regarding food porn as the Hannibal franchise, either show or movie, or The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, or Lover. It's not as good at commentary as Get Out or um, Get Out of Shape of Water. And there are elements of it that kind of reminded me of Lady in the Water, speaking of Anya Taylor-Joy and M. Night Shyamalan movies, which, for those that don't know, is a movie about M. Night Shyamalan basically whining at his critics for criticizing him over movies like The Happening or Signs by making a movie where only an artist can save the world from a supernatural evil, and all of the stand-ins for his critics get killed. That's this movie. This movie is culinary, slightly prettier and slightly more well accomplished Lady in the Water. And that's really all I have to say about that. No, the critics for some reason fell in love with the damn thing because I think it just hit their pretentious commentary itch. And that's part of the reason why this annoys me is I could have seen a very good version of this if they had done it in the style of last year's Ready or Not. That would have been really cool. Or if this were like um I I wouldn't know what to call it, but if it were a Purge movie and it was like uh Purge Bon Appetit or something, that would have been cool. Or again, if it were like, or if they went sort of the Hannibal Lecter route with the main character and made him this like highly intellectual chef who wants to push the boundaries of food culture by by going Most Dangerous Game with it, that would have been cool. Or if they had done the rich eat the poor thing from like Sweeney Todd or Get Out style commentary, that could have worked too. And this is why it annoys me because I can sit here and think of, if you had done it more similar to this movie would have been better. If you had done it more similar to that movie, it would have been better. So you basically took all of these great like acts to follow and did the most stupid, pretentious version of them. Yeah, I don't blame you for passing either, Ed. I pirated it, and that's about as much money as it's worth putting into. And yes, I will admit that I sailed the seven seas to watch this movie, like I do most movies. Um, because yeah, this movie, if you were sold by the trailer, this movie hates you. And if you were the kind of person who was looking for the next Get Out or the next Shape of Water, even on the commentary, it's very superficial. Like, did you know there are pretentious hipsters who know more about cooking than they can actually cook? No, you don't say, Herder. And the other thing I heard a lot of critics say, and I don't know from what orifice they pulled this out of, is it works better if you view it as a commentary on all art, not just cuisine. And I'm like, yeah, but a large part of what sold the movie in the trailer was the food porn. And that's the most I can say for this movie is it does very good visual food porn, but it's not better than something like the Hannibal TV show from a couple of years ago. That show was very good at food porn and art porn in general. Um, so even if you just wanted to go in thinking, I'll wait until this goes to streaming and then turn the sound off so I can look at the pretty food porn, I'd advise you just to watch Hannibal again, either the movie or the TV series. Yeah, no, Ray Fiennes tries his best. It's just it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And you'd think he'd be able to kind of channel Lecter a bit more, having played Dollarhide in Red Dragon, but unfortunately, no. Again, they try to give him this weirdly sympathetic backstory that both goes nowhere and yet makes the it turns what should be a dark, dry horror comedy into kind of a Hallmark movie at the end, and it's weird. And even the deaths aren't particularly creative, like as far as horror movies go. I mean, if you're looking for a horror movie and you have nothing else to watch, this is fine. But like I say, that's why it's a 6 out of 10, not a 4, despite that I'm giving it kind of a 4 level of criticism. Because I was sold by the trailer and I wanted that movie, and then you gave me the opposite of that movie, and that's why I'm mad. But I think this is where I'm going to sign off because otherwise I'm just going to keep repeating the same points over and over. So hopefully Englentine doesn't get mad at me for doing this. And if you guys liked me doing kind of a solo review, please feel free to mention it repeatedly in the comments so that Englentine conceivably lets me do this again. And hopefully the next time will be slightly less rambling. I haven't been on I haven't been on camera alone for a while now, so it's been a minute. I mean we can go a little bit longer, Ethereal Dragon, if you want to. I'd hate to close it down like just as someone else was coming in. But the short version is if you liked the trailer for the movie, you will hate the movie, and the movie hates you right back. Um, yeah, the menu, as I said in the title, the menu will have you asking, "Check, please," because the movie hates you. I am 90% sure the movie hates you because every character that dies, like cannon fodder, is basically a stand-in for anyone who might like food or like genre content in general. The audience of this movie are the victims in the movie, and the movie makes no apologies for it. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Again, if you like seeing kind of my solo act, write it down in the comments so England team might let me do this again. And share it so that it gets good viewing numbers, please. Other than that, I will stop rambling now, and I will see you all later. Cheers, guys.